You watch the last amber embers of your whiskey cling to the bottom of the glass, reflecting the faint, bruised light from the street lamp outside. The silence in your small apartment is a familiar companion, a heavy cloak woven from years of self-imposed exile. Each dust mote dancing in the solitary beam feels like a tiny, mocking reminder of a life once vibrant, now merely existing. The only rhythm is the steady, unyielding tick of the grandfather clock in the corner, a relic from a time when laughter echoed through these rooms. Your fingers, once nimble with a badge, now merely trace the condensation ring on the scarred oak table. You are Arthur, a name that once carried the weight of authority, now just a whisper in the wind. A disgraced former detective, you carry the phantom ache of past failures in your bones, a constant dull throb beneath your ribs. You abandoned its dangerous embrace, choosing this quiet, regret-filled solitude, believing you had outrun the ghosts. Then, the shrill, metallic cry of the landline telephone rips through the quiet, a violent intrusion. You flinch, your hand hovering over the receiver as if it might bite. Calls from him are never casual. They are always harbingers. No trace since last night. The words hit you like a physical blow, stealing the air from your lungs. Vanished. The world tilts on its axis, the familiar walls of your dwelling suddenly foreign, menacing. Your daughter. Sarah. A name you haven't spoken aloud in years, a chasm of unspoken words and unresolved hurt stretching between you. Details, you manage, the single word a raw demand. Her vehicle was found abandoned near the International Bridge Toll Plaza at night. Keys in the ignition, cell phone on the seat. No signs of struggle. No note. Just gone. The captain's voice drops, a rare concession to humanity. We're launching a full investigation, Arthur. Uniformed officers are canvassing, detectives are reviewing surveillance footage from the plaza, but it's early. No leads yet. No leads. The phrase is a red flag, a spark igniting the dormant fire within you. You know what early means in their lexicon: slow, bureaucratic, by the book. And your daughter, your estranged, precious daughter, is not a file number. The guilt, a crushing weight you thought you had learned to bear, now threatens to suffocate you. This isn't just a case for the precinct, this is yours. I'm going to the plaza, you state, the decision solidifying in your mind, unyielding. A sigh from the other end. Arthur, let us handle this. You're no longer. I'm her father, you cut him off, your voice hard as granite. And I'm coming. You slam the receiver back into its cradle, the sound echoing the turmoil in your chest. The night outside is a bruised purple, the air thick with the promise of rain. The engine of your battered sedan grumbles to life, a reluctant beast. The city lights blur into streaks of neon and gold, a distorted reflection of the chaos in your mind. The approach is a funnel of concrete and steel, leading to a bottleneck of glowing yellow booths. The air here hums with the low thrum of distant traffic, the occasional whoosh of a speeding vehicle, and the omnipresent scent of exhaust fumes. Overhead, the skeletal framework of the bridge stretches into the inky blackness, a stark silhouette against the few visible stars. You pull into a dimly lit, largely empty lot adjacent to the plaza, parking beside a few official vehicles, a patrol car, an unmarked sedan. The flashing blue and red lights are muted, a somber pulse against the backdrop of the night. A uniformed officer stands near a roped-off area, his posture stiff, his gaze sweeping the perimeter. You ignore him, your eyes already scanning, absorbing. The automated gates are up, indicating a quiet period. You walk towards the designated area, the gravel crunching beneath your worn boots. The captain said her vehicle was found abandoned here. Your gaze falls on the specific lane, marked by a single, blinking evidence marker. You stop at the edge of the yellow tape, your eyes narrowing. You breathe in the scene, the sterile professionalism of the official search a stark contrast to the raw, visceral fear clawing at your throat. Where is she? What happened here, at this desolate gateway, under the indifferent gaze of countless surveillance cameras? Your unofficial investigation has begun. Your keys, heavy with the weight of old memories and new dread, are clutched in your palm. The chill that seeped into your apartment now follows you out, a phantom breath on your neck. You navigate the labyrinthine streets, the neon glow of storefronts blurring into streaks of fractured light, each turn tightening the knot in your gut. The precinct house, a brutalist block of concrete and dim, institutional light, looms ahead. Inside, the air is thick with stale coffee and unspoken histories. You approach the desk, where a uniformed officer, whose gaze holds the weary detachment of someone who has seen too much and cares too little, barely glances up. The officer listens, his pen tapping a rhythmic, infuriating beat against a worn blotter. His eyes, when they finally meet yours, are devoid of sympathy, reflecting only procedure. Sir, for an adult. It's usually 24, sometimes 48 hours before we can even file a report. People leave. They just go sometimes. He gestures vaguely, as if to encompass the entire sprawling, indifferent city. Have you checked with her friends? The old fire, banked for years, now sparks in your chest. You remember this apathy, this bureaucratic wall, the very reason you walked away from the badge. You push back, your voice gaining an edge. She wouldn't just go. Something's wrong. I know her. The officer's face remains a mask of polite disinterest. We'll need more, sir. Any evidence of foul play? A forced entry? A note? He shrugs. Without that, it's a voluntary absence. You clench your jaw, the words like ash in your mouth. There's no point. This is on you now. It always was. Your old sedan devours the distance to her apartment building, a squat brick structure on the city's fringes. The stairwell smells of dust and neglect. Your key, a spare she gave you years ago, slides into the lock with a soft click. The door swings inward to an unnatural quiet. Her space, usually vibrant with the scent of old books and her specific lavender incense, is hushed, almost sterile. Her art supplies are neatly arranged on a small drafting table, a half-finished sketch of the city's skyline pinned to the board. A stack of books, dog-eared and beloved, rests beside her bed. Nothing seems out of place, yet everything feels wrong. It's too tidy, too still. It feels curated, not lived in. You run your hand along the spine of a book, a thick volume on urban planning, a subject he was passionate about. Your fingers brush against a loose section of floorboard beneath the bookshelf. A faint creak. You kneel, prying it up with a nail file from your pocket. Beneath, nestled in the dust and splintered wood, lies a small, tarnished silver locket. Its surface is worn smooth in places, a testament to frequent handling. It's empty. No photograph, no lock of hair. But as your thumb traces the inside, you catch a glint. Almost invisible, etched with meticulous precision into the silver, is a stylized crane, its long neck arcing gracefully, its legs poised for flight. It's a familiar symbol, one you've seen on old shipping manifests, on the rusted gantry cranes that dot the city's docks. You search the small cavity again, your fingers exploring every millimeter. Beneath the locket, folded impossibly small, is a scrap of paper, brittle and yellowed. You carefully unfold it. A single word, handwritten in a script you vaguely recognize as hers, but more rushed, more desperate, stares back at you a passage. The word hangs in the quiet air, a stark, unsettling beacon. Passage. Not an exit, not a departure, but a journey through. And the crane symbol. The docks. The international bridge. This isn't a runaway. This is something else entirely. Something deliberate, something
Hidden.
The city's main artery to the world beyond, a constant thrum of cargo and commerce.
It's where the city's underbelly often brushes shoulders with its legitimate facade.
You drive, the city lights receding in your rearview mirror, replaced by the skeletal glow of distant industrial districts. The bridge appears on the horizon, a colossal steel leviathan straddling the Black River, its cables strung like a celestial harp against the ink-dark sky. A few scattered vehicles pass through, their headlights cutting harsh swathes through the gloom. From your vantage point, the bridge stretches out, an intimidating pathway into the unknown. You watch the flow of traffic, the anonymous faces in passing vehicles, the stoic toll collectors in their illuminated booths. The crane symbol, the word passage, they reverberate in your mind, pulling you deeper into a current you had sworn to escape. The word, passage, echoes in the confines of your mind, a stark, unsettling beacon. And the crane symbol. The docks. The international bridge. A cold certainty, sharp as a blade, pierces through the fog of your confusion.
This isn't a runaway. This is something far more intricate, more sinister.
Your hands tighten on the steering wheel, knuckles stark white against the worn leather. The city lights bleed into a streaking blur as you push the old sedan harder, each revolution of the engine a pulse against the silence.
The air itself feels taut, charged with an unspoken urgency.
You are a predator once more, hunting, but this time the prey is a ghost of a clue, and the prize, your daughter. The determination, a long dormant ember, flares into a steady flame within you.
Neon signs of forgotten diners flicker in the distance, their garish colors swallowed by the vast, inky blackness.
You pass skeletal structures of abandoned factories, their broken windows like vacant eyes watching your solitary progress. Each mile shortens the distance, but lengthens the shadow of what you might find.
It's late, past the hour when most legitimate commerce flows.
Only a handful of booths are open, manned by figures slumped in their seats, their faces weary masks under the unflattering light. The sheer scale of the bridge, a skeletal leviathan stretching across the dark water, is a stark reminder of the global arteries that crisscross the city. You pull up to an open booth, the yellowed light illuminating the face of the attendant, a young man whose eyes hold a deep-seated weariness.
Specifically, around an hour ago?
He blinks, his gaze flickering nervously to the rearview mirror, then back to you.
Unusual?
Sir, it's always unusual at this hour.
Mostly empty trucks and a few late commuters.
A specific vehicle, you press, leaning closer, your presence filling the small space.
A private vehicle, perhaps. Modified.
Or something that didn't quite fit. He hesitates, a bead of sweat tracing a path down his temple. His eyes dart, not to the mirror this time, but to a small monitor within his booth, its screen showing a feed of the lanes.
There was a glitch. About an hour and 15 minutes back. A black sedan. High-end. The barrier just went up. No toll collected. I didn't touch it. Did you see who was driving? He shakes his head, eyes wide. Tinted windows. Just a flash of chrome. It was gone before I could even process it.
Anything else, you ask, your gaze sweeping the desolate plaza.
A pause? A drop? Anything out of place near the booth?
He gestures vaguely to a small maintenance access panel on the side of the booth.
Just felt a draft.
Like the panel wasn't quite shut right after it passed. You thank him, the words a mere formality, and pull away, your gaze fixed on the small panel he indicated.
The black sedan. A manual override. This confirms your growing suspicion, an inside job. Someone powerful wanted something to pass unnoticed.
The cold wind whips around you as you approach the designated toll booth, your flashlight beam cutting a path through the gloom.
The access panel is indeed slightly ajar. You pry it open, revealing a tangle of wires and circuit boards. Your beam catches on something small, nestled amongst the dust and grime. It's a micro SD card, no bigger than your thumbnail, tucked securely into a nearly invisible slot. A professional wouldn't have missed this. This was either an intentional plant or a desperate oversight. As you pocket the card, a sudden, jarring screech of tires slices through the night. Your head snaps up. A black sedan, identical to the one described by the attendant, barrels into the lot, its headlights blazing, momentarily blinding you. It doesn't slow, but swerves directly towards your parked car, then skids to a halt, blocking your exit. Two figures, large and indistinct in the artificial light, emerge from its doors, moving with a predatory slowness. Arthur, a voice booms, distorted and amplified through a bullhorn. Drop what you found. They knew your name. They knew you found something. This wasn't a random encounter. Your daughter was entangled in something far grander, far more dangerous than you could have imagined. You clench your jaw, the micro SD card a tiny, vital weight in your pocket. They wanted this. Which meant it was a piece of her investigation. You retreat behind the toll booth structure, using its concrete bulk as cover. The figures advance, their heavy footsteps crunching on the gravel. You hear the distinct snick of a weapon being readied. Last chance, Arthur, the voice warns, closer now. It was a conduit for information, for illicit goods, for secrets. And your daughter, in her relentless pursuit of truth, had stumbled upon this very conduit. She wasn't just missing, he was a threat to their carefully constructed empire. And now, so were you. You need to move. Your daughter trusted it to be found. The wind howls, a mournful lament, as you prepare to confront the encroaching danger, the weight of a powerful, dangerous secret settling heavy in your grasp. The asphalt hums a low, disquieting song beneath your tires, a melody that grates against the frayed edges of your nerves. They knew your name. The words echo, a relentless drumbeat in the hollow chamber of your skull. Your daughter, caught in a web spun by unseen hands, demands more than fear, she demands action. The rhythmic clang of the toll gates ahead, a metallic heartbeat, seems to quicken with your own. Each booth, a small, isolated cage of light, promises a momentary pause, a vulnerability you hadn't considered until now. You steer your sedan into a less trafficked lane, the engine a low growl of anticipation. The air here tastes of exhaust fumes and a faint, metallic tang. It's a move too precise, too aggressive to be accidental. Your foot instinctively slams the brake, throwing you forward against the seatbelt, the sudden jolt rattling your teeth. Before the echoes of the screech fade, the world explodes. A sharp crack, like a whiplashing air, erupts from your left. This isn't a random incident. This is an execution. Adrenaline, a searing fire, floods your veins, sharpening your senses to a terrifying degree. One raises an arm, and the glint of metal catches the harsh light. No time for thought, only instinct. You wrench the wheel hard to the right, stomping on the accelerator. The sedan lurches forward, a desperate beast breaking its leash. The barrier arm of the toll booth ahead is a flimsy obstacle. You brace yourself, a silent prayer to a god you haven't spoken to in years, and ram it. The plastic and metal shriek in protest, then snap, disintegrating into splinters and twisted rebar as your car bursts through, a wounded animal escaping its trap. Another shot rings out, this one from behind, a sickening thud as it strikes the rear of your car. You glance in the rearview mirror, a fleeting image burned into your mind's eye amidst the chaos. His face, lean and predatory, is marred by a jagged scar that slices from his temple down to his jawline, a permanent sneer etched into his skin. He doesn't seem surprised by your escape, only mildly annoyed. A professional. An enforcer. You don't hesitate, pushing the accelerator to the floor.
The engine roars, protesting the sudden abuse, but you need distance.
You need to disappear into the night.
The international bridge stretches before you, an endless ribbon of concrete, the city lights receding into a blur behind you. A few miles down the bridge, where the lights are fewer and the traffic sparser, you pull over onto the shoulder, the car shuddering to a halt. Your hands, still clenched around the steering wheel, tremble uncontrollably. You swipe at it, feeling the wet warmth of blood bloom on your fingertips.
The ambush was precise, professional.
The scar-faced man, his unblinking gaze, the methodical way he held his weapon, he wasn't a panicked amateur. He was a ruthless operative, a mid-level enforcer, a cog in the machinery that had swallowed your daughter. The realization settles in your gut, a heavy, cold stone. They are serious.
And you are deep in their territory.
But the fear that had begun to coil around you is now transmuted into something harder, sharper. You have a face, a scar, a tangible detail. You will pull it. You will find your daughter. And you will make them regret ever knowing your name. The asphalt still hums, a low, persistent thrum beneath the chassis of your sedan. The melody has shifted, grown sharper.
They knew your name.
The words, once a hollow echo, now beat a frantic rhythm against the walls of your skull, a percussive reminder of the unseen eyes that track your every move. The chill of the night, no longer a mere shroud, feels like a vice, tightening with each mile marker that blurs past.
Sleep is a forgotten luxury, replaced by the bitter tang of stale coffee and the metallic taste of adrenaline.
Your hands grip the steering wheel, knuckles white, a silent prayer for speed and clarity.
A crumpled receipt, found tucked beneath a loose floorboard in the apartment of the initial abductor, had offered a brittle thread, a transaction from a forgotten gas station near the International Bridge.
It was a long shot, a gamble born of desperation, but the city's vastness had narrowed to this single, illuminated point on the map.
Harsh sodium lamps cast a sickly yellow glow, stripping the world of its softer hues.
The cacophony of engines, the hiss of air brakes, the rhythmic thump-thump of tires over expansion joints, all merge into a single, overwhelming roar. You merge into a lane, the red and green lights of the booths flashing like malevolent eyes. Your gaze sweeps across the queue of vehicles, a restless predator sifting through a herd.
Trucks rumble past, their massive forms shaking the ground, their drivers faceless behind tinted glass.
Family sedans, their occupants oblivious to your grim quest, crawl towards the border.
And then you see it.
A nondescript cargo van, its rear doors scarred with faded rust, rolls slowly into the lane beside you. It's the same make and model, the same subtle dent above the left taillight you'd noted in a blurred surveillance photo from a discarded burner phone. Your breath catches, a ragged gasp in the confined space of your car.
This is it. This is the thread that leads into the labyrinth.
You hang back, letting a few cars create a buffer, the van's taillights a distant crimson beacon. The wind howls around your car, a mournful dirge. On the other side, the van veers off the main highway, taking a series of increasingly desolate service roads. The streetlights thin, then vanish, plunging the route into a murky gloom broken only by the anemic glow of your headlights. The air grows heavier here, thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. The van finally pulls into the overgrown lot of an abandoned factory, its skeletal remains silhouetted against the bruised purple of the pre-dawn sky. Broken windows gape like empty eyes, and a rusted fence, half collapsed, marks the perimeter. The crunch of gravel under your boots is a loud intrusion in the stillness. A side door, its paint peeling like sunburnt skin, hangs slightly ajar, a sliver of weak, artificial light bleeding from within.
Muffled voices, a low murmur of conversation, drift out.
Pushing the door open just enough to see, you peer into the cavernous space. Dust motes dance in the single, bare bulb hanging from the ceiling, illuminating a scene that seizes your breath and squeezes it from your lungs.
He is there. Your daughter.
She stands at a workbench, her back to you, her shoulders hunched. Her hands, usually so expressive, so full of life, are meticulously assembling small, intricate components. Her movements are precise, practiced, yet there's a tension in her posture, a rigid stillness that speaks of fear. Her head is bowed, the long fall of her hair obscuring her face, but you see the tremor in her fingers, the way her shoulders flinch with every sharp sound. He is not bound, not visibly chained, but the air around her hums with a different kind of restraint. He is an unwilling pawn, a cog forced into a machine not of her making. A figure moves into your line of sight, a hulking man with broad shoulders and a neck thick as an oak trunk. He stands over her, his voice a low growl that you cannot quite decipher, but the menace in his tone is palpable. He gestures sharply at the components. Your daughter flinches, her head dipping lower, then she resumes her work with renewed, desperate speed. Then, a voice, smooth as polished obsidian, cuts through the drone of the hulking man. She's efficient, yes, but her focus wavers.
Remind her of the urgency,
He moves with a predatory grace, stopping just behind your daughter. He reaches out, his hand resting briefly on her shoulder, a gesture that seems more threat than comfort. The timetable is critical, the commanding voice continues, now closer, clearer.
The infrastructure must be ready. Our benefactor expects nothing less than perfection.
He glances at the assembled components on the bench, small, metallic devices, intricate and delicate, unlike anything you've ever seen. They hum faintly, a soft, almost imperceptible vibration.
This isn't just about your daughter, it's about what she's building, what they're building.
The scope of this conspiracy stretches far beyond a simple kidnapping, encompassing something vast, something designed to alter the very fabric of the city. The commanding figure turns, and for a fleeting moment, the dim light catches a glint on his lapel. A small, stylized emblem, barely discernible but instantly recognizable, a crest you've seen before, etched into the bronze plaques of municipal buildings, on the stationery of city officials, on the ceremonial uniforms of the city's elite. It is the crest of the city itself, subtly altered, a serpent coiled around a scepter. The world tilts on its axis. The mastermind is woven into the very fabric of the system, a rod at the heart of the city you once swore to protect. Your daughter is not just a victim, he is a tool in a conspiracy that reaches the highest echelons, a betrayal so profound it threatens to unravel everything.
You understand now. The game is far larger, far more dangerous than you had imagined.
And you, Arthur, are standing at the precipice of its horrifying truth. The faint hum of the metallic devices still vibrates in the air, a whisper against the sudden roar in your mind.
You trace the intricate lines etched into their surfaces, each curve and angle a testament to a precision that chills you. This isn't a mere kidnapping, a simple extortion. This is an orchestra of intricate machinery, conducted by hands unseen, crafting something far beyond your initial understanding. The thought, a bitter pill, lodges in your throat. You, Arthur, the lone wolf, the man who pushed everyone away, must now call them back. The first dust motes dance in the weak light filtering into the abandoned warehouse, disturbed by your restless pacing. Your reflection in a grimy window shows a man etched with exhaustion, but beneath it, a flint-like resolve has ignited. You pull out the worn burner phone, its plastic casing slick with the sweat of decision. The number you dial is a ghost from a life you buried. It rings twice, then a gruff voice answers, thick with sleep and suspicion.
Who is this? The voice rasps, a familiar cadence that scrapes against your memory. It's Arthur, you state, your voice surprisingly steady. And she's tied into something. Something huge. A sigh, heavy with resignation, travels through the line. Your daughter? The one you barely spoke to? What makes you think I'd lift a finger for you, after everything? Because it's bigger than me, bigger than you, bigger than our history, you insist, the urgency a raw edge in your tone. It touches everything.
The system you still believe in, the one I used to.
They're building something, and she's part of it.
If you care about this city, you'll listen. Another pause, longer this time.
You can almost feel the old detective, the one whose desk used to be opposite yours, weighing the scales.
A meeting. No games. Midnight. Come alone.
And don't bring that broken badge of yours. You disconnect, the phone feeling heavy in your palm.
One down, perhaps.
The detective, a man of rigid principles, might be swayed by the sheer scale of the corruption you hinted at, but his cooperation would be fragile, built on the shifting sands of old wounds. Hours later, the city lights blur into streaks as you navigate the familiar streets, a phantom limb of your past life guiding you. You need more than just a by-the-book investigator. The towering metal structure looms above, a skeletal guardian against the bruised twilight sky. A nondescript sedan, its windows tinted to an opaque black, pulls up slowly, parking a distance away from the active lanes. You approach, your senses heightened, every muscle coiled. Arthur, the collector's voice is a low gravel, devoid of emotion, like sand sifting through rock. You've chosen a precarious path back into the world of the living. My daughter, you repeat, a mantra of your desperation, he's caught in a web.
I found traces of devices. Intricate, unlike anything manufactured for public use.
Of a growing network, unseen hands guiding the flow of goods, of information, even of people. A silent architecture rising beneath the city's skin. He was researching secure networks, off-grid communications.
Access.
To the places no one else sees, the people no one else talks to, you state, meeting their gaze.
And protection.
They will come for me. Not just coin, but blood. And once you step onto this path, there is no turning back. You will be hunted by ghosts you cannot see, by a system with no face. I know, you say, the words a weary acceptance.
I'm already there. My daughter is worth any price.
A faint smile plays on the collector's lips, a flicker of something almost human.
Very well.
I have my own reasons to see certain structures crumble.
Meet me tomorrow.
Same time, same place.
I will have a name for you.
As the collector's car pulls away, merging seamlessly back into the traffic, you feel the weight of the city pressing down, but also a strange, fragile strength.
You are not alone. Not yet.
The pieces are beginning to move, drawn by the invisible threads of a conspiracy vast and dangerous, and by your unwavering resolve to pull your daughter free. Headlights, like hurried ghosts, streamed across the asphalt, their beams momentarily illuminating the stoic faces of the collectors in their booths, then dissolving into the city's distant haze. The air tasted of exhaust fumes and the metallic tang of an approaching storm, a fitting prelude to the storm brewing within you. Your hands, despite the biting chill, felt hot, a simmering furnace of resolve. You were no longer just Arthur, the disgraced, but Arthur, the vengeful architect of a desperate plan. A beat-up utility van, nondescript and blending with the late-night commercial traffic, idled a few meters away. The hacker, a young woman whose pale fingers danced across a tablet screen, was already weaving through the city's digital arteries, preparing the electronic curtain. Ready, the collector asked, his eyes, sharp as a hawk's, meeting yours. As I'll ever be, you replied, the words a gravelly.
Promise.
Precisely as the collector had predicted, a sudden, cacophonous blare of horns erupted from the northern side of the plaza. A multi-car pileup, orchestrated chaos, brought traffic to a grinding halt. Emergency lights began to strobe in the distance, painting the sky in frantic reds and blues. The toll collectors, momentarily distracted, peered towards the disturbance. Go, the collector urged, pushing a small, encrypted device into your palm.
This will keep their internal comms jammed for 90 seconds. You get to the rear service entrance of the abandoned factory. The driver will be waiting. You moved, a phantom in the peripheral vision of the plaza. The utility van, already in motion, pulled up beside you. You slid into the passenger seat, the door closing with a soft thud that sealed you in a bubble of focused intent. The driver, a man whose face was a roadmap of forgotten battles, gave a curt nod. Hold on. The van veered sharply off the main road, bouncing over an unpaved track that ran parallel to the bridge's underbelly. The rhythmic hum of tires on asphalt gave way to the crunch of gravel. The abandoned factory, a hulking silhouette against the city's distant glow, loomed closer, its broken windows like vacant eyes. The rear service entrance, rusted and heavy, creaked open under the driver's practiced hand. You slipped inside, the air thick with the scent of decay and forgotten industry. The hacker's device chirped in your hand, its green light solid. The internal cameras were yours. Dust motes danced in the sparse shafts of moonlight piercing the grimy skylights. You moved with the stealth of a predator, your senses hyper-alert, listening for any telltale sign of life beyond your own ragged breathing. You followed the digital map on the collector's device, navigating through derelict workshops and cavernous assembly halls. A faint light, a sickly yellow glow, emanated from a section deeper within the factory, near what the schematics labeled as a former administrative wing. Your daughter. As you approached, hushed voices became audible, snippets of conversation carried on the still air. You pressed yourself against a support beam, the cold metal seeping through your clothes. Through a narrow gap in a partition, you saw her. Chained to a pipe, her face pale, but her eyes, thank God, held a spark of defiance. And standing over her, a figure whose back was to you, broad and imposing. Another voice, smooth and insidious, filled the space. Such a pity, Arthur, the voice purred, not to you, but to your daughter. Your father was once a man of principles, or so he claimed. But even the strongest convictions crumble under pressure, don't they? The figure turned, and your breath hitched. It was the chief of operations, a man you had once respected, a man who had stood by you during your own professional downfall, offering empty words of sympathy. The mastermind. This little drama, Arthur, is not just about your daughter. It's about you. Your failure. The very system you swore to protect. He gestured around the vast, decaying space. This entire operation, these conduits of illicit power, it all began because of your blind spot. The one where you let the real puppet master slip away? That was me. And I've been building this empire ever since, right under your nose, using the very network you helped dismantle to hide my tracks. Your past failures, the ghost that had haunted your every waking moment, solidified into a tangible, mocking presence. The realization was a punch to the gut, a betrayal so profound it threatened to buckle your knees. The man who offered you solace had been the architect of your ruin. And your daughter, he added, a glint in his eye, she started asking questions. Questions about my connections, about the missing funds, about the true nature of this city's silent partners. He was far too clever for her own good, just like her father. The enforcers advanced, their footsteps echoing ominously in the vast space. You gripped the collector's device, its purpose now clear. This wasn't just about rescue, it was about exposing the venomous heart of the conspiracy. Loyalties were not just tested, they shattered like brittle glass. The fight, you knew, would be personal, brutal, and for everything you had left to lose. You feel the hum deepen in your palm, a low vibration that thrums against your tendons. The collector's device, sleek and cold, ignites with a faint, pulsing light. As the enforcers surge forward, their heavy boots thudding on the grimy concrete, you raise it, not aiming, but presenting. Your rage, a burning inferno from moments before, now sharpens into precise focus.
A beam of pure, focused light, almost invisible, emanates from its core, not striking them, but sweeping across the vast, echoing space. On a large, dust-coated monitor in the corner, one previously showing only static, a cascade of data begins to bloom. Files, ledgers, encrypted communications, all spilling forth, raw and undeniable.
Names, dates, transactions, a digital avalanche of malfeasance.
His eyes, fixed on the screen, widen imperceptibly as the scale of the exposure dawns on him.
The enforcers falter, their charge dissolving into uncertainty.
One of them, a hulking figure with a scarred jaw, glances from the screen to his superior, then back to you. The momentum has shifted. Then, the sound. Not a siren, but a deep, resonant rumble that vibrates through the floor, growing louder, closer. Heavy vehicles.
A new set of footsteps, precise and synchronized, approaches from a previously unseen entry point. A contingent of enforcement officers, their uniforms distinct, their bearing official, floods the chamber. Her gaze settles on your daughter, still bound but now watched over by a younger officer who moves to her side, a gesture of protection. The evidence is overwhelming.
The next hours blur into a dizzying vortex of interrogations, confirmations, and the systematic dismantling of a corrupt empire. You watch, numb with exhaustion, as names, respected figures, civic leaders, powerful financiers are flashed across screens, their illicit dealings laid bare for all to see.
The lead officer returns, his face grim. The network was vast, Arthur. Much deeper than we ever suspected.
From the licensing bureaus to the urban development projects, even elements within the city's regulatory bodies.
They were siphoning funds, manipulating contracts, silencing dissent.
You feel a dull ache in your ribs, a throb in your temple where you took a glancing blow. The adrenaline that had propelled you through the labyrinthine factory now recedes, leaving behind a profound weariness. Your hands, still trembling slightly, are caked with grime and a smear of your own drying blood. The bitterness of betrayal, the sheer audacity of the scheme, settles heavily in your gut. It was worse than you imagined.
Finally, they bring her to you. Your daughter.
Her face is smudged, her clothes torn, but she stands, whole. You reach out, your fingers tracing the line of her jaw, a silent apology, a desperate promise.
In that single word, the chasm that had opened between you begins to bridge.
You hold her, fiercely, as if to impress upon your very being the reality of her presence. The world outside the embrace fades.
The city wakes to a storm.
News channels erupt with the scandal, the digital floodgates opened by your device washing over every screen.
Public outrage boils, a tidal wave against the foundations of authority. Protests swell in the squares, demanding accountability.
The system you once served, then abandoned, then reluctantly re-entered, now groans under the weight of its own exposed rot.
The constant drone of distant traffic is a lullaby for the restless.
Your daughter stands beside you, her shoulders brushing yours, a familiar comfort. The cold wind whips at your coat, carrying the scent of salt and exhaust fumes. You watch the cars pass through the toll booths, their headlamps slicing through the gloom, each vehicle a contained world moving towards an unknown destination. It reminds you of the discreet lives, the hidden
currents, that had flowed beneath the city's surface, now tragically exposed.
They found more of them today, she says, her voice soft, barely audible above the wind. Another warehouse, a storage facility.
To rebuild.
Will you help? She asks, turning to face you. You meet her gaze, a question forming in the depths of your own. The path of a detective, disgraced or otherwise, is a lonely one. But the city, scarred and wounded, needed rebuilding. Your daughter had moved back in, her presence a balm, a constant, gentle reminder of what you had fought for. The nightmares still cling to the edges of your sleep, spectral echoes of the factory's gloom and the chief of operations sneer, but they no longer consume you whole. You spend your days walking the city's streets, not as an investigator, but as an observer. You see the subtle shifts, the new faces in official buildings, the cautious optimism in the eyes of ordinary citizens, the lingering skepticism. Justice, you realize, is not a sudden, clean incision, but a slow, painstaking recovery. Sometimes, late at night, you trace the faint scar on your hand where the collector's device had pulsed.
It is a mark of the past, a story etched into your skin.
But when your daughter laughs from the next room, a sound light and clear like chimes, you know that new stories are waiting to be written. The peace you find is not perfect, not absolute, but it is real, a fragile, hard-won bloom in the aftermath of the storm.
And that, for now, is enough.